Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Sharlin. It's a pleasure to meet with you today. I'd like to talk with you a little bit about the process that we use here at Sharlin Health and Neurology, but most importantly, how that's going to help you. On a previous video, I've talked about the identify pillar of our five-pillar system. That's really focused on making sure that we have the correct diagnosis. It is so important that the correct diagnosis be made because even though our patients really want to understand the factors that contributed to their problem in the first place, and then how we can address those factors and ultimately how we're going to fix the problem that they have, you have to start out with what is the problem. And too often people come to us either not knowing exactly what the explanation is for the problem they're experiencing or set of problems, numbness, weakness, brain fog, balance issues, and so forth, or they have a diagnosis and the diagnosis is not correct. So before we take that deep dive into all those root causes that really is part of functional medicine, we have to clearly identify what is the problem. But let's move beyond that into the next pillar or two. The next pillar is investigate. That's really where the excitement starts for our patients. If you had Alzheimer's or you have Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis, ultimately, questions that you might ask is, how did this happen? How did this happen to me? Why do I have this condition? This is not the direction that I thought my life was going to go in. And of course, anyone would ask that question, but let's take a step back for a moment and think about what typically happens at a neurology clinic. Ultimately, once that diagnosis is made, most neurologists will focus on the diagnosis, right? So forget the person, focus on the disease, and assign a drug to that disease. You have MS, you go on an MS drug. You have Alzheimer's, you go on an Alzheimer's drug, whether that's Alzheimer's, MS, Parkinson's, ALS, migraine, and so forth. So the human being, the person, you, that has this condition is often left out of the equation in conventional neurology. But that's not the case in functional medicine. We do have to clearly identify the disease, but then we have to take the next step to investigate the problem. Investigate not only involves a very deep dive into understanding what are called the antecedents, triggers, and mediators of your condition, but it includes a set of labs that is unique to our Brain Tuneup program. This is where we take the deepest dive with you. We're going to look at factors including genetic influences, things that drive chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, lipid chemistry. Now, I'm not talking about putting you on a statin type drug, but it is important to understand that lipid chemistry can play a major role in driving your condition. Similarly, blood sugar control, and that includes levels of insulin, not just your blood sugar, because your blood sugar really is only going to be as high as your insulin level is. We're going to look at things like hormones. We're going to look at toxins. These include heavy metals and biotoxins. And then we're also going to look at trace minerals. And when it comes to hormones, the most important ones to consider are cortisol, DHEA, testosterone, estradiol, and progesterone, and thyroid. All of these play critical roles in why we get sick and what we're going to do to help you get better. So you need this deep dive into labs that's not going to happen at a conventional neurology clinic. When you come in, just to review, we're going to sit down with you. You're going to tell us your story. I want to learn about your family. I want to learn about the circumstances around your mother's pregnancy and your birth. I want to learn about your childhood and your adulthood, all the way up until the time that you got sick. And then let's evaluate the things that are keeping you on this trajectory, what we call the mediators. And that includes the quality of your sleep, movement, what kind of approach to nutrition you have, how you manage stress, or what is your stress resilience, and what is your relationship to other human beings. So all of that is packaged together with this deep dive set of labs. And it's kind of like getting a jigsaw puzzle, let's say a 500-piece puzzle, and throwing the pieces onto the table. All of them are there, right? Hopefully, unless a piece was lost, but they don't put themselves together and they don't come out of the box and necessarily in the right order. So when I talk with you about our integrate pillar, that is when we take all of the puzzle pieces that we discovered in the investigate pillar and help you put it together, create a plan that is unique to you, and ultimately solve the problem.